'Tis the season of the Black Friday sale, I say. A season it used to be Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It used to be 2 days. Now it seems to go on for weeks. Now I think the title of this video is probably going to be what not to buy this Black Friday. I am actually not going to tell you what not to buy. That would be terribly presumptuous of me because I don't know you very well. I believe that you like synthesizers and synthesis and electronic music and all that sort of good stuff, but I don't know what you need. I don't know what you want. It's all about want, isn't it? And I don't know what your budget is. But I thought I would tell you what I am going to try not to buy this season. So perhaps by inference and implication you might get an idea of what might be useful for you, and if you want to spend money, what you might want to spend money on. I hope that makes sense. I will give you my I will give you my 3 criteria which I use before I buy anything. One of them is particularly relevant to sales. And just in case you really want some new stuff, I will suggest some freebies, which I think are definitely worth having. Now, you may already have some of these, but I think there will be at least a couple which you don't have. And some of these actually contain within them a multitude of freebies. You'll see what I mean when we get to that. So these are, in my opinion, very good freebies, well worth having. I use most of them regularly. Okay, let's get going. So what am I going to try not to buy this Black Friday? Well, I am not going to try to buy anything. Yes, you probably know what's coming up. If you don't want to hear it again, then feel free to skip ahead to some of the more juicy parts of this video. If you've seen some of my other videos, you will know I keep saying I have a silly number of plugins, of effects and sample libraries. And do I know how to use them all? Yes, of course I don't. So yes, what I am going to do this Black Friday, rather than spend money, is to revisit some of the stuff I already have. Now, I can absolutely guarantee I will come across instruments, sample libraries and effects. And I think, I didn't know I had that. I can absolutely guarantee it. So I'm going to explore what I already have rather than spend money on more stuff which I will forget about in a couple of weeks' time. Now, if you're just getting started in this wonderful world of synthesis and electronic music, your DAW, whichever one it is, probably comes with a lot of synths and effects and possibly sample libraries as well. So it's only really when you know what you have do you then know what you need. Think about that, because you know it makes sense. Does that sound a bit preachy? So in the internet marketing fraternity, they call this desire to look at new stuff shiny object syndrome. We in the music business call it G.A.S, gear acquisition syndrome. Now, I have a few videos about this, mainly trying to explain and talk you out of spending money on stuff which you don't actually need. I also have a video which I have called a dangerous video, which explains how to justify G.A.S. Don't watch it! It is linked below, but I'm just warning you, watch it at your own peril. Okay, so we're all bombarded by these offers which we can't refuse, or the developers don't want us to refuse. So here are my 3 criteria, which I tend to apply to 98.5% of my potential purchaser to see if I actually am going to purchase it or not. Now, this set of criteria may be different for you, but here is mine. So my first criteria, and this applies to instruments, is it NKS compatible? Now, if it is NKS compatible, it appears within complete control. Now, I've made videos about this before, but I shall go through it again in brief. I shall also link to the videos if you want more information about it. So in brief, NKS stands for Native Control Standard. And if an instrument is NKS compatible, it appears in complete control. What's the big deal? You may well ask. Well, okay, first of all, complete control is absolutely free. It comes with some instruments as well, so there's no reason not to get it. But the big thing about complete control is it's a shell program, and all NKS compatible instruments appear inside it. Now I don't know how many, dozens and dozens and dozens of NKS compatible instruments. Now, they are not just instruments from Native Instruments. There are over 40 developers who support the NKS standard. So if you have any third-party software instruments, there is a very good chance that some of them may well be NKS compatible and show up in complete control. Now, the big advantage to this is that they are all tagged, and you can search by tag, so you can whittle down all your presets. So remember, if you have a lot of instruments, you also have a lot of presets. The last time I checked in my complete control setup, I had over, wait for it, I had over 80,000 presets. Now, can you imagine how long it would take to go through all the individual instruments and all of the presets looking for a particular sound? Instead, I can use the tags to shortlist them. There's a search option, so I can search for particular instruments and particular types of sound. This just saves so much time. So I definitely want a new instrument to be NKS compatible. Otherwise, it's going to end up on the hard drive, and I forget about it in a few weeks or a month or two or whenever, and it will just get lost. So if it is in complete control, it is never forgotten. Anyway, that's my first criteria. And if you do not have complete control, which is free, I would suggest you look at your library and see how many instruments you have which are NKS compatible. You may well have forgotten some, but if you have a few, then it is certainly worth pulling them together inside complete control. Criteria 1. Right, second criteria. Yes, this is price. Now, I have made videos about this. If you have seen them, you will know what I think of the price of software. I shall link to some of these in the description, but in short, I have in my mind a price of how much I think a piece of software is worth. Now, this is obviously does not apply to absolutely everything, because just like anything in life, some things are definitely worth more than others. But I just have a figure in mind, and if something is going to cost me more than this, then if it's not absolutely essential, I'm going to pass on it. Now, if in case you're wondering, my top line figure here is $29. Now, I know I'm probably going to get some stick for this, because I know there are some software developers who watch this channel, small software developers and small hardware developers as well. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. We'll get into this a little bit later, but compared to hardware synthesizers, for example, once you've done the R&D and actually built the thing, there are no manufacturing costs, there are no distribution costs, you haven't got retailers to contend with, there are no repair costs, there are no maintenance costs for units coming back, assuming you've done a good job and your software is not buggy. Now, this is just my baseline. You need to find yours if indeed you want to look at software in this way. If I'm buying a bundle, I would expect a much lower price than that. Again, I'm going to say more about this in a second. So anyway, that's my second criteria. My third criteria really applies to sales. Now, we are talking about software. It's intangible. It has no intrinsic value other than the information which it contains. So yes, essentially you're buying information, you're buying ability to do something, obviously to make music, but it has no physical counterpart. It is really difficult to sell software on. Now, I think there are markets where you can do this. I buy software on the understanding that I am really not going to try to resell it. Some companies do make this easy. Native Instruments has a system whereby you can pass on a license. Arturia, I think, has a similar system in place. I'm not sure about other companies. So I have a piece of software, I paid whatever I paid for it, even if I don't use it. I'm probably not going to try to sell it on, but I think that lowers the value of software considerably. If you have a physical product, I think that's always going to be worth more than a digital version of it. That may not always be the case, but that is my attitude at the moment. Now, yours may differ. You have to make up your own decisions about this and your own rules. So with that in mind, my third criteria relates to the sale price of products. Now, given what I believe is the value of a software companies can offer, well, virtually any sort of discount. Anything they make, and I'm going to say even more about this in a moment, but anything they make it's basically pure profit. Yes, it is. So the bigger companies certainly are run by marketeers and accountants and bean counters. So they think, how much can we get away with charging? That is how most software, and indeed a lot of hardware, is priced, especially companies who are relying on their name. Anyway, so with that in mind, if a company offers less than a 50% discount, I take it as a bit of an insult. You have to decide what your own level of acceptance for discounts is. There are companies who offer 95% discount, and okay, you might think, wow, that's a good deal. But who decides the initial price of the software in the first case? So in times of sale, I would expect to see something discounted by at least 50%. Of course, you have to make your own decision. If it's something which you really, really want is discounted by 30%, you might think that is a good deal. I reluctantly upgraded to Cubase 13 a few months ago, and I got a 30% discount. I thought it was a bit mean of Steinberg, but such is life. Anyway, I'm going to say a little bit more about that in a moment. So to sum up, that's my 3 criteria. NKS compatibility, costing less than $29, although we do have a bit of leeway on that, but that's just something which I look at. And if it is a sale, I want to see a reasonable discount and not some pen pushers in, we'll give them 10 or 20% and they'll be happy because they don't know. Well, maybe they do know, but they certainly don't know me. Oh, well, they're lucky. Having said all that, I do have some respect for companies who just simply do not discount at all. They are saying, this is our product, this is what we think it's worth. If you want it, this is what you have to pay for it. Now, that, in a sense, to me, makes more sense than a company saying, well, our product is worth $100, but if you wait until the summer or Black Friday or the spring sale or whatever sale it is, you can get it for half price. So another way to look at this, if you want another way to look at it, is look at the sort of discounts which companies offer, and that really is their go-to price, and that is the maximum you should be paying for it. The full price, I don't know who pays full price for software. I guess some people do. Who knows? So, for example, Korg seems to discount at 50% every sale. I haven't seen a bigger discount than that. I'm not saying that they haven't had one, but that seems to be their go-to price. So just ignore the top-line cost of Korg products. 50%, that is what it's worth. If you can get a better deal than that, go for it if you want their software. Anyway, speaking of 50% discounts, I did say I wasn't going to tell you what not to buy, but I didn't say I would not tell you what to buy. Speaking of 50% discounts, if you like Arturia, if you are in the market for Arturia's V collection, then this is currently at a 50% discount. This is a very good deal if you are new to Arturia. You're getting 30 odd instruments for €300. If you are an existing Arturia customer, if you log in, you will see what your offer is. Now, I don't think Arturia is treating existing customers fairly. They aren't the only ones. I shall mention another similar company in a moment. But I did not upgrade from version 8 to version 9 or indeed to version 10 at the upgrade price. It just wasn't good value. New customers get a really great deal, but existing companies, they're just trying to milk as much money as they can out of existing customers. Where is the sense of loyalty? And they say, oh, this is a loyalty discount. But if you tot up the cost of an instrument to a new customer and compare that with the new instruments which an upgrading customer would get, they're nowhere close. Existing customers get a far worse deal. Now, I find this astonishing because although I love the products, I think their pricing system is just totally out of whack. It doesn't make sense. Have a look at this. Here's V Collection 10 at half price, €300. You get 30 odd instruments, whatever you get from it. If you want to buy an individual instrument, it's €200. Where is the sense in this? It doesn't make sense. So if you want to buy 2 instruments at €200 each, that's €400. Who in their right mind is going to do that? You are going to wait for a sale and buy the entire bundle and save yourself €100. Now, I think this brilliantly highlights one of the, shall we say, issues surrounding music software and its actual value. Now, Arturia, I am sure, would very happily sell you one of these instruments for €200, but it would much rather you spent another €100 and it would be happy to give you 30 odd more instruments for just that 100 extra euros. So what does that tell you? Well, it says to me that it costs Arturia absolutely nothing more to give you 30 odd instruments than it does to give you the one. Well, okay, virtually nothing more. This is just for the pedants because, of course, you have to download them, so there is a server cost involved in that. There are no pedants here, though, are we? But it's costing Arturia nothing more to give you 30 odd instruments as it is to give you one instrument. Now, that's my takeaway for it. You want to disagree without being pedantic, please do so in the comments. So anyway, at this price, I think the V Collection X, if you don't have it, this is a really good deal. Now, I have made a video about how you can save a little bit more money than this. Now, this is a tip, this is a trick, a hack, if you like, which was given to me by one of Arturia's support staff several years ago, which I used. I actually have upgraded to the V Collection X because Arturia were thrown in the Synthy V thing at the same time. So I took the plunge and I thought, well, that's probably as good a deal as I'm ever going to get on an upgrade. Check out that video. Certainly if you're in the UK, you will save a few more pounds with it. The other big company which doesn't seem to have any customer loyalty is Native Instruments. Love the software, not so sure about the company. They just released Complete 15, the big bundle of just about everything, a couple of months ago, so I don't think we will be seeing any particular discounts on that or indeed on upgrades. I haven't upgraded to it. I made a video about that as well. If you want to check that out, the link is in the description. So I have Complete 14, the Biggie Ultimate Collector's Edition. I'm not sure which one it is. They are not good names to differentiate between the two top packages. But I have this, and the upgrade price for me is 450 quid, which is a lot of money. And I was looking through the new stuff that you get with it, and a couple of people have actually commented and said, well, it's not that exciting. And to be honest, it really doesn't look that exciting either. So if they come up with an offer maybe in the new year, January, February, who knows when, they may even have a Black Friday sale on. I guess it depends on how well sales of the upgrades have been going. They may have an offer on this Black Friday, who knows. Anyway, unless it is discounted, I am currently not going to upgrade to this. But if you are in the market for a new version, shall we say, of Complete 15, then I think you can get a deal if you buy one of the keyboards with it. So whether you want to do that or not, I don't know. Moving on. Steinberg has just recently released Cubase 14. This seems to be the upgrade that Cubase 13 should have been. I made two videos about Cubase 13. The last one was telling you that I reluctantly upgraded to it, and I don't think I have used any of the new features in 13. I thought it was an abysmal upgrade. How many reviewers have actually said that? I thought it was a terrible upgrade. I thought they were taking advantage of customers and just felt they needed to put something out to grab some money in. So I did upgrade. I got a 30% discount terrible. So the 14 version seems to be the upgrade that 13 really should have been, but that means they're going to get twice the amount of money. That's certainly out of me, because I will almost certainly upgrade to it. They're getting twice the amount of money for an upgrade, which should have just been one upgrade and not two. However, I am going to wait a few months and see if I get a discount on this before spending another 80 odd quid on that upgrade. As it's a relatively recent release, I don't see this being discounted this Black Friday, but again, who knows? Okay, let's get to the freebies. I'm just going to whiz through these. I shall mention them and tell you why I think they are so good, and leave links to the downloads, of course, in the description. So you will know that the net is awash with free software. So if you're anything like me, and I sincerely hope you're not, not in a bad way, but when you sort of get into this music business, you go looking for freebies and you download everything you can, just in case they disappear. So I have tons of freebies on my hard drive, but most of them I just don't use. So before you download a freebie, I would just suggest that you look at it and say, well, is this something I'm going to use? Otherwise, it's going to clutter up your hard drive. I use most of these, maybe not on an everyday basis, but I do use all of them. And I know you can go searching and get more freebies. So if you've got a particular freebie, which I don't mention, leave a link to it in the comments. These are just freebies which I think are definitely worth your time. So a couple which you probably have. The first one is Vital. It's a wavetable synthesizer. I've used it in some of the demos I've done. If you don't already have it, go get it. The second one is Valhalla Supermassive. I can't believe anyone has not got this already. It is a massive reverb, perfect for ambient, but it doesn't just do reverb, it does delays and some special effects as well. It's free. Link in description if you don't already have this one. So the next one is something I've already mentioned, Native Instruments Complete Control, because it's free and because you get some nice instruments with it. And the chances are, if you are ever going to buy some third-party instruments or even Native Instruments, the chances are you will have some which are NKS compatible, and as I have explained, you will be able to sort through all your instruments from the one interface. Now here's one which you may not be aware of. It is Surge. It is open source. It's interesting not only because it's open source, because it is a really interesting synthesizer as well. You can download it and try it free of charge, of course. Next on the list is some freebies, not just one but several freebies from Yuhi. Yuhi produces Diva, Hive 2, Zebra, and also the Hans Zimmer version of Zebra HZ it's called, which was famously used by Hans Zimmer in his Batman score. Now, I managed to buy these a few years ago in a bundle deal, but Yuhi also has some free synthesizers. These come from a renowned synthesizer development stable, and I would say these are definitely worth looking at. So they include, among others, Tyrell and Zebralet, which is a sort of cut down version of Zebra. But they have even more on their site, so do check them out. The next is Extreme by Steinberg. Now, I did make a video about this. It's a spectral synthesizer. It's really interesting and produces some fascinating sounds. Now, the downside is, if you do not already have some Steinberg instruments, you need to install Steinberg's download assistant and then a library manager, and then it's got some other bit of software. That's sort of 3 bits of software you need to get any Steinberg download. This is an absolute pain. It's such an antiquated system. It took Steinberg 20 years to get rid of the dongle, so I have no idea what the development team is doing, sticking us with this download system. If you already have Steinberg products, you probably already have Extreme. If not, then it might be worth exploring. It's a really interesting synthesizer. You can actually drop your own samples into it to see what the engine does with the sound. But this runs in Hallion. Now, there's a free version of Hallion. This is Steinberg's sample player. There's a free version called Hallion Sonic, which you can also download from the download system. I'm not a fan of Hallian. I don't understand it. I think it's unnecessarily complex. I just use it to run the bits of software. So there are other freebies which Steinberg has given away, which also run in Hallian. So you might get a few freebies out of that. Another great freebie, which I have mentioned several times on this channel, but which seems to fly under the radar for some reason, is SoundPaint. Now, this is another sample player. It's totally free, and you get loads of free stuff with it. The company also sells libraries to run in SoundPaint. So if you don't already have SoundPaint, use the link in the description. You will get SoundPaint and a $15 credit towards something if you want to buy it. But one of the really cool things about SoundPaint, now it's actually just been updated to version 3.2 beta, I think. It's all free. So the really cool thing about it is everything downloads from within the plugin. More than that, it tells you what freebies there are. So you load SoundPaint, you click on the little cloud icon, it will tell you what freebies are available that you have downloaded and which you haven't downloaded. It also shows you any products you have bought. So it tells you what freebies there are from within the interface. What other piece of software does that? Certainly not Steinberg's. This is so cool, and this is the way I think all software should be. Well, that's a thought, isn't it? The penultimate instrument on the list, you may not have come across this. It depends which newsletters you read and which YouTube videos you watch. It is a new release. It is from Tractine, from Dawson, and it is called Zyklop. The company calls it the little sister of its slightly bigger sister called Myth. Now, I don't have Myth, but by all accounts, Zyklop seems to do just about everything that Myth does. Now, this is, and I'm going to be very careful about the words I use, this is 100% free. You do not have to give your email address. You go to the website, click on the download link, and it downloads. Tractine and Dawson, who produced this, has a really good record of producing very individual, very powerful, very interesting instruments. I would absolutely suggest you download this for totally 100% free and give it a whirl. So the final item on the freebie list is not one item, it is 100 items. In fact, 100 free contact instruments. Now, if you subscribe to the Native Instruments newsletter, I would suggest you do, because it does have interesting articles about different types of music and different types of music making. But in one of their recent newsletters, they made a list of 100 top free contact instruments. So there are, well, obviously a lot here. There's 100 here. I have some of them. I would suggest, again, you just don't download everything for the sake of downloading them. Take a look at them, see what they do, and if you think you can use them, then absolutely download them and use them. So I hope you found this interesting. I hope there are some freebies here that you may not have been aware of, which you are going to try out. They're all worth trying, in my opinion. And perhaps it has given you an opportunity to think about your Black Friday purchases. Now, I'm making this obviously before Black Friday. If you're watching it before Black Friday or before the season sale ends, I'll be really interested to know if there's anything you are looking for and hoping to get a discounted. I am just so curious about the sort of gear which other musicians use. If you're watching this after Black Friday, then let me know if you got any bargains, or let me know if you were resolute and didn't buy a thing. Well done, you. That's it for this video. I'm going to look on my hard drive for those synthesizers and sample libraries I've totally forgotten about. I'm going to see what they do. It will be just as if I had spent thousands of dollars on new gear this Black Friday. So it will be money well saved. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.